Behind the bright smiles and funky dance moves of What's Happening was a story no one ever told. This wasn't just another 1970s sitcom. It was a battlefield. Hidden lawsuits, shocking casting rewrites, secret romances, and feuds that nearly tore the show apart. For decades, fans thought they knew Roger, Rerun, and Dee, but one actor legally changed his name to match his character. Another survived a tragic car crash, and one creator was quietly erased from history. So, what really happened behind the scenes? Stay tuned, because the cast of What's Happening is finally revealing what most fans never figured out. The birth of a legend. The story of What's Happening began in an unexpected way. The show first aired on ABC in August 1976 as a short summer experiment, a test run to see how audiences would respond. But to everyone's surprise, it quickly became a hit. Its success led to a full weekly series that ran until April 1979. What made What's Happening truly special was its focus. It was the first African-American sitcom centered on teenagers, offering a fresh, authentic look at everyday life in a black community. It broke barriers and opened doors, giving audiences across the country a chance to see a side of life rarely shown on television at the time. The show's origins traced back to the 1975 film Cooley High, which inspired the overall concept. Before the version fans came to love, an early pilot, also based on Cooley High, was produced, but it had a much more serious tone. The creators eventually decided to take a different approach, aiming for something lighter, funnier, and more relatable. When this creative shift happened, only one actor from that first pilot was kept, Ernest Thomas, who would go on to play the iconic role of Roger. The show even carried a different name at first, Central Avenue, before finally becoming What's Happening. That early transformation, from a dramatic concept to a comedic coming-of-age story, gave the show its identity. But it also set the stage for the many challenges and unexpected twists that would unfold behind the scenes. The casting secrets, the casting of What's Happening, was anything but ordinary. A process filled with unexpected turns and behind-the-scenes surprises that could have completely changed the show's legacy. Landing the lead role of Roger Raj Thomas was no easy task for Ernest Thomas. He faced competition from nearly 200 other hopefuls, all vying for the same part. It was an intense audition process that tested not just talent, but charisma and heart. Interestingly, the role of Roger was originally envisioned for Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, a well-known actor at the time. It's fascinating to imagine how different the show might have felt with another actor at its center. One of the most remarkable casting stories came from Fred Berry, who would go on to play the unforgettable Rerun. In the earliest drafts of the script, Rerun wasn't even written as a black character. He was described as a skinny white kid. When Fred Berry, an energetic, heavy-set dancer with unmatched personality, walked into the audition, he told the producers with a grin, "I'm a white, skinny guy." His confidence and humor won them over instantly, so much so that they completely rewrote the role around him, creating the Rerun fans would come to love, complete with his signature red beret and infectious energy. As for Ernest Thomas, his career could have taken an entirely different path. Around the same time, he was one of the final two actors being considered for the iconic role of Kunta Kinte in the groundbreaking miniseries Roots. The part ultimately went to LeVar Burton, but Thomas still appeared in the production in a smaller yet meaningful role as Cuba, a testament to his talent and versatility. Eric Monti's Fight. The story behind What's Happening was built on a foundation few fans ever knew about. A quiet but intense legal battle that changed one man's life forever. Eric Monti, the brilliant writer who created What's Happening, took an incredibly brave but costly stand against some of Hollywood's most powerful figures. He filed a lawsuit against ABC, CBS, Norman Lear, and several others, claiming they had used his ideas for hit shows like Good Times, The Jeffersons, and What's Happening, without properly crediting him. The case was widely reported as a $300 million lawsuit, but Monty later revealed that the reality was far different. He said he ultimately received just $1 million and a small share of rerun royalties. According to Monty, Norman Lear once offered him $1 million for 7 shows, an offer he turned down, believing his creative work was worth far more. Even more shocking was Monty's claim that his own lawyers pressured him to settle, allegedly threatening to abandon the case if he refused. The aftermath was heartbreaking. After the lawsuit, Monty said he was blacklisted in Hollywood, unable to find work in an industry he had helped shape. The rejection sent him into a downward spiral marked by financial hardship and a struggle with addiction. By 2006, the man whose stories had once brought joy and laughter to millions was living in a Salvation Army homeless shelter in Bell, California, a tragic reminder of how the system can turn its back on the very artists who build it. The unraveling behind the scenes. What's Happening became an instant success, quickly making history as the first African-American teen sitcom to break into the Nielsen Top 30 during its debut season. But behind the laughs and light-hearted stories, the show wasn't afraid to explore serious themes that most sitcoms of the 1970s avoided: friendship, body image, divorce, financial struggles, unemployment, poverty, racism, gambling, dating, education, and even teen pregnancy. It was funny and real at the same time, reflecting the everyday challenges of its audience with honesty and warmth. Yet success brought its own share of problems. During the second season, Fred Berry and Ernest Thomas staged a walkout, frustrated over the poor condition of their dressing rooms. With 2 of the show's biggest stars gone, Haywood Nelson had to carry an entire episode on his own, while Shirley Hemphill stepped in to help keep things running. Producer Bud Yorkin suspended Berry and Thomas and required them to sign $25,000 promissory notes to prevent future walkouts. But the tension didn't end there. By the 3rd season, Fred Berry reportedly convinced Thomas and Nelson to push for higher pay. Rather than meet their demands, the producers made a shocking decision. They canceled the entire series. Meanwhile, Mabel King, who played the wise and loving Mama Thomas, had already left after the 2nd season. Her reason wasn't financial, it was creative. She disagreed with the show's direction and wanted to see a stronger, more positive portrayal of black families on television. King even suggested bringing back her character's ex-husband as a full-time presence to show a healthy 2-parent household. Her decision to walk away spoke volumes about her integrity and her deep belief in authentic, uplifting representation, even when it meant leaving a hit show behind. The show started because ABC hated the original pilot. What's Happening only came to life because ABC hated the original version of the show. The sitcom that millions of fans would later adore actually began as something completely different, a serious, dramatic series that bore little resemblance to the lighthearted comedy that eventually made it to air. The story began with Eric Monty, the talented writer behind the 1975 film Cooley High, a coming-of-age story about teenagers growing up in Chicago's housing projects. The movie had been a critical and commercial success, praised for its honesty and emotional depth. Hoping to capture that same magic for television, ABC executives commissioned Toy Productions, led by producer Bud Yorkin, to create a direct TV adaptation of Cooley High. The first pilot stayed true to the film's tone. It was realistic, emotional, and focused on the everyday struggles of urban youth in the 1970s. But when ABC executives finally saw the completed pilot, they were far from impressed. They felt it was too heavy, too serious, and simply didn't fit their vision for prime-time entertainment. Fred Silverman, who headed programming at ABC at the time, made a bold decision. He scrapped the pilot entirely. But instead of canceling the project, he gave Toy Productions one last chance, with strict instructions to start over from scratch. He demanded a complete reimagining, a lighter, funnier show with brand new characters, a more family-friendly tone, and a title that wouldn't remind audiences of Cooley High. That creative overhaul changed everything. The serious drama was transformed into a warm, comedic slice of life centered on friendship, humor, and community. And from that dramatic reset came the show that fans would come to love, What's Happening. The first episode aired wasn't actually the first episode. The first episode of What's Happening, that aired on television, wasn't actually the first one filmed, a fact that even many longtime fans never realized. When audiences tuned in on August 5th, 1976, they were watching The Runaway, which was technically the second episode shot. The switch came after a last-minute decision by ABC executives, who wanted to kick off the new series with a moment that would instantly grab viewers' attention. Fred Berry's unforgettable dance moves. Originally, the production team had filmed The Birthday Present as the intended premiere. Taped before a live audience at ABC's Los Feliz studios on March 16, 1976, that episode was designed to introduce the main characters, three teenage friends navigating life in the Watts neighborhood of Los Angeles, and set up the heart of the show. But everything changed once the crew filmed The Runaway. During that episode, Fred Berry's character, Rerun, delivered a brief but electrifying dance scene that captured his energy, humor, and showmanship. The same talent that had made him famous as part of the professional dance group, The Lockers. When ABC executives watched both finished episodes, they immediately saw the potential. They decided to swap their order, making The Runaway the series premiere. It was a strategic move. Opening the show with Berry's dynamic performance would not only hook viewers but also highlight what made What's Happening stand out from other sitcoms of the era. The gamble paid off. Fred Berry's dancing became one of the show's most beloved trademarks and a defining element of its charm. The Birthday Present eventually aired later in the season, but few viewers realized they were watching what had originally been meant as the true first episode. The switch proved how crucial Berry's presence and performance were to the show's identity, even before What's Happening had officially begun. Rerun was originally written for a skinny white actor. The character of Rerun was never meant to be played by Fred Berry. In fact, the role was originally written for a skinny white teenager, a complete opposite of the man who would eventually bring the character to life. When What's Happening was first being developed, the writers imagined the third member of the friend group as a clumsy, nerdy sidekick, the kind of awkward comic relief character familiar to 1970s sitcoms. He was meant to be the skinny, slightly out-of-place friend whose humor came from physical mishaps and social awkwardness, not from a big personality or charm. Producers had already begun auditioning young white actors who fit that mold when Fred Berry walked into the room and changed everything. Berry was 25 years old at the time, much older than the high school student he was auditioning to play, and he looked nothing like what the producers had in mind. He was a heavy-set African-American man with undeniable presence, professional dance training, and an energy that could light up a room. At first, the producers resisted. He didn't fit the description, the age, or even the tone of the original concept. But once Berry began his audition, everything changed. His natural comedic timing, his infectious enthusiasm, and his explosive dance moves turned what was supposed to be a simple sidekick role into something extraordinary. The casting directors were so captivated that they reimagined the character entirely, transforming Rerun from a skinny, awkward kid into a bold, lovable showman with unstoppable energy. Fred Berry got the part, and Rerun was born. His signature red beret, his iconic "Hey, hey, hey" catchphrase, and his unforgettable dance routines quickly made him the breakout star of the series. What started as a casting long shot became one of the show's greatest successes, proving that sometimes the best creative decisions happen when you throw out the rulebook and take a chance on something completely unexpected. Raj's enduring presence. Ernest Thomas, the actor who brought Raj Thomas to life, was born in Gary, Indiana, the same city that produced the Jackson 5. Before achieving television fame, he honed his craft on the Broadway stage, appearing in productions like Love for Love, 1974, and The Member of the Wedding, 1975. where he shared the stage with a young Glenn Close. That strong foundation in theater became the cornerstone of his career, preparing him for the challenges and precision of television work. Not long after, he moved to Los Angeles and landed a guest role on The Jeffersons in 1975, a moment that would open the door to his breakout part on What's Happening. Few fans knew that Thomas lives with amblyopia, commonly known as lazy eye, a condition he has handled with quiet confidence throughout his career. And there's another surprising chapter in his story. During the 1970s, when actress Kim Cattrall was still a student at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, she and Thomas shared a brief romantic relationship. It was long before she would go on to worldwide fame as Samantha Jones on Sex and the City. After What's Happening ended, Thomas took a 6-year break from television and film before returning to his iconic role in the sequel series What's Happening Now. The revival, which ran from 1985 to 1988, gave the cast a chance to reunite and revisit their beloved characters. In this new chapter, Raj had grown up. He was now a young writer, married to Nadine, a social worker, and still living in his old family home in Watts. But while the reunion brought joy and nostalgia, it also revived old tensions, particularly surrounding Fred Berry's eventual departure from the show, a controversy that unfolded behind the scenes. When the sequel ended, Thomas continued to build a remarkably steady and diverse career. He appeared in dramas like In the Heat of the Night, working once again with Anne Marie Johnson, who had played his wife on What's Happening Now, and made memorable guest appearances on hit comedies such as Martin, alongside his former co-star Martin Lawrence, Soul Food, The Steve Harvey Show, and Just Jordan. On the big screen, Thomas played a supporting role in Spike Lee's Malcolm X and later made a cameo in Dickie Roberts, former child star. To a new generation, however, he became instantly recognizable as Mr. Omar, the eccentric funeral director on the hit series Everybody Hates Chris. In 2012, Thomas surprised fans again by stepping into a darker genre, appearing in Rob Zombie's horror film The Lords of Salem. Off-screen, he remains an active and respected member of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, a testament to the discipline, dedication, and integrity that have guided his long and resilient career. Rerun's roller coaster ride. Fred Berry, the actor who won over audiences with his quick wit, contagious energy, and unmistakable dance moves as Rerun, lived a life as colorful and dramatic as the character he portrayed. Known for his portly frame, bright red beret, suspenders, and signature greeting, "Hey, hey, hey," Berry's character became one of the most recognizable figures on television in the late 1970s. His comic timing and unforgettable dance routines often stole every scene he appeared in. The role became so deeply intertwined with his identity that Berry legally changed his middle name to Rerun, fully embracing the character that made him a household name. But behind the laughter, fame came with a heavy price. Berry struggled to manage the sudden wealth and attention that followed his success. He later admitted that he had spent most of his earnings within just 3 years. His life spiraled into battles with substance abuse and serious health problems, issues he spoke about with brutal honesty in a 1996 People magazine interview. "I blew $1 million on drugs, real estate, an airplane, horses, the whole 9 yards," he confessed. Berry also revealed that during the 1970s, drug dealers were often present on studio sets, and heavy drug use was simply part of the Hollywood scene at the time. His addiction and depression pushed him to dark places. He would later admit to attempting to take his own life 3 times during those painful years. When What's Happening Now launched in 1985, Berry returned to his beloved role as Rerun, now reimagined as a used car salesman. However, his comeback was short-lived. He left the series after the first season due to a contractual dispute, publicly voicing his frustration that he was almost 35 years old and not yet a millionaire. He even accused the show's producers of racial discrimination regarding his pay. After undergoing substance abuse treatment, Barry tried to rebuild his life, but faced long periods of financial struggle. To make ends meet, he often appeared at public events and shopping malls, where fans still greeted him with admiration. In time, he underwent a remarkable transformation. Barry became a motivational speaker and an ordained Baptist minister at the Little Shiloh Primitive Baptist Church in Madison, Alabama. It was a powerful shift from the chaos of fame to a life of faith and redemption. Before his death, Barry enjoyed a brief resurgence in the public eye, appearing as himself in shows like Scrubs, E! Network's Star Dates, and Snoop Dogg's Doggy Fizzle Televizzle on MTV. He even made a cameo in the David Spade comedy Dickie Roberts, former child star, a fitting final nod to the industry that had given him both his greatest triumphs and his hardest lessons. Fred Barry passed away in 2003 at the age of 52, leaving behind a legacy of laughter, resilience, and redemption. A reminder that even those who make the world smile often fight their hardest battles behind the scenes. In the final years of his life, Fred Barry sought peace and redemption. He publicly expressed regret for some of his past behavior and mistakes, acknowledging the toll that fame, pride, and addiction had taken on his relationships and career. When he passed away in his Los Angeles apartment on October 21, 2003, at the age of 52, it marked the end of a complicated but ultimately redemptive journey. He had been recovering from a stroke, and his death was attributed to natural causes. In the years leading up to it, Barry had made significant changes to improve his health, losing more than 100 pounds after being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Among those who came to pay their respects was his longtime co-star, Ernest Thomas. Despite some people's disapproval, Thomas stood by his friend, explaining simply, "There's a thing called forgiveness." Dwayne's unexpected path. Before What's Happening, Haywood Nelson Jr. was already building an impressive resume for someone so young. He spent 2 years on Broadway in The Play Thieves, honing his craft and gaining the kind of stage experience that would later set him apart from his peers. By age 14, he had already appeared on 2 of television's most popular sitcoms, Sanford and Son and its spin-off Grady. Then, in 1976, at just 16 years old, Haywood landed the role that would define his career. Dwayne Nelson, the sweet, easygoing best friend on What's Happening. Charming, funny, and effortlessly cool, Haywood quickly became one of television's first black teen idols, a groundbreaking achievement at a time when young black actors rarely held that kind of cultural spotlight. When What's Happening ended in 1979, Nelson appeared briefly on The White Shadow before life took an unexpected turn. He had been studying architectural design and electronics engineering, planning for a future behind the camera, rather than in front of it. Those plans were put on hold when the cast reunited for What's Happening Now, the syndicated continuation of the original series. In the revival, which ran from 1985 to 1988, Nelson reprised his role as Dwayne, now a little older, wiser, and funnier, while also working behind the scenes as the show's technical director. It was an early sign of his growing interest in the technical side of television production. After What's Happening Now concluded, Haywood transitioned fully into the production world. He worked as a camera assistant in film and television, eventually expanding into screenwriting and international film distribution. His versatility and curiosity for the craft kept him active and relevant long after his sitcom days. Today, Haywood Nelson continues to work in entertainment, serving as a lighting technician and stagehand for major productions such as Late Night with Jimmy Fallon and The Dr. Oz Show. He's also a founding partner in 2 companies, one focused on developing new television projects, where he serves as executive producer and writer, and another dedicated to gaming and mobile consumer services, where he works as a creative executive. In his personal life, Nelson has been married 4 times, to Cheryl Pyland, 1981 to 1984, Diana Ramos, 1987 to 1998, Canadia Sky, 2014 to 2020, and Paula de Jesus, 2023 to present. He is the father of 3 children. Haywood has also made occasional on-screen appearances as himself, including a cameo in Dickie Roberts, former child star and a guest spot on The Parkers. From stage to sitcom fame to a steady career behind the scenes, Haywood Nelson's journey reflects both resilience and reinvention. Proof that true talent can shine just as brightly off camera as it does in front of one. Danielle Spencer. On September 6, 1977, tragedy struck during the filming of the second season of What's Happening. Danielle Spencer, who charmed audiences as Raj's quick-witted little sister Dee, was involved in a devastating car accident alongside her stepfather, Tim Pelt. In a heartbreaking act of love, Pelt was fatally injured while trying to protect her during the crash. Danielle was left in a coma for 3 weeks and had no memory of the accident when she awoke. Her recovery was long and grueling. 6 months of physical therapy kept her away from the show, and production even paused for a month to allow her time to heal. After What's Happening ended in 1979, Danielle and her mother relocated to Africa for a period of reflection and renewal. When they returned to the United States, Danielle decided to follow a completely different path, one inspired by her late stepfather's encouragement: veterinary medicine. She attended the University of California, Davis, earning her degree before continuing on to Tuskegee University's School of Veterinary Medicine in Alabama. In 1996, she officially became a licensed veterinarian, fulfilling a dream born out of both pain and perseverance. Even while studying, Danielle managed to balance her demanding coursework with acting, reprising her role as Dee in the revival series What's Happening Now. Her dedication and discipline helped her build a dual career few could manage. Today, she has practiced as a veterinarian in California for more than 25 years, a testament to her determination, resilience, and lifelong compassion for others. But her challenges didn't end there. In 2004, Danielle was diagnosed with spinal stenosis, a painful degenerative condition directly linked to the injuries from her 1977 crash. Surgery to correct it left her partially paralyzed for 8 months, a period she later described as one of the darkest of her life. Overwhelmed by depression, she contemplated ending her life. Her mother, desperate to help, moved her from Los Angeles to New Jersey so she could receive treatment from Christopher Reeve's doctors at the Kessler Institute for Rehabilitation. Danielle credits those specialists with helping her walk again, both physically and emotionally. A decade later, in 2014, she faced yet another blow when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Despite her family history with the disease, the news still came as a shock. Through it all, Danielle remained a symbol of strength, grace, and endurance. While in college, she joined Delta Sigma Theta sorority, reflecting her commitment to sisterhood and community service. Later, she chronicled her experiences in her deeply personal memoir, Through the Fire, Journal of a Child Star, where she opened up about the accident, her health struggles, and her journey of survival. The book renewed public interest in her life and career, leading to numerous television appearances where she shared her story of faith and perseverance. That same year, she was honored by the National Museum of African American History and Culture, becoming the only former child actor ever to receive such recognition. Never one to stand still, Danielle also ventured into fashion design, launching her Danny Collection line, inspired by her own bold, elegant style. Shirley Hemphill. Shirley Ann Hemphill, best remembered as the tough but warm-hearted waitress Shirley Wilson, didn't start out chasing fame. Her journey into comedy began almost by chance, when she sent a cassette recording of her stand-up routine to legendary comedian Flip Wilson. He was so impressed that he personally invited her to visit the set of The Flip Wilson Show. That experience changed everything. Inspired by what she saw, Shirley made a bold decision. She quit her factory job, packed her bags, and moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in comedy. By day, she worked as a waitress, and by night, she performed at the world-famous Comedy Store, sharpening her craft in front of tough crowds and Hollywood insiders. Her natural timing and sharp wit quickly caught attention. Norman Lear, one of the most influential producers in television, even offered her a chance to star in a spin-off of his hit series Good Times. But Shirley turned it down, holding out for something that truly felt right for her. That choice paid off when she auditioned for and won the role of Shirley Wilson on What's Happening, a decision that would make her one of television's most beloved comedic figures of the late 1970s. When What's Happening was canceled in 1979, Shirley faced a crossroads. She auditioned for the role of the cook on Archie Bunker's Place, but ultimately lost the part to Ann Mira. Her disappointment didn't last long. The very next day, she was offered her own sitcom, One in a Million, where she played a New York taxi driver who suddenly inherits a massive fortune. The show premiered in 1980, but despite her charm, lasted only 13 episodes before being canceled. Even after that setback, Shirley's determination never wavered. She returned to her first love, stand-up comedy, and toured nightclubs across the country, performing to packed audiences who loved her unfiltered humor. In 1985, she returned to television in the revival What's Happening Now, reprising her role as Shirley Wilson, now reimagined as the co-owner of the restaurant. Throughout the 1990s, Shirley continued to make audiences laugh. She guest-starred on popular sitcoms like Martin and the Wayans Brothers and showcased her stand-up on major platforms, including The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, A&E's An Evening at the Improv, and BET's Black Comedy Showcase. Tragically, Shirley Hemphill's journey ended far too soon. In December 1999, she passed away at the age of 52 from kidney failure. She was found at her home in West Covina, California, by her gardener. Just a year earlier, she had reunited with her What's Happening co-stars Ernest Thomas and Haywood Nelson for a special appearance on The Jenny Jones Show, delighting fans one last time. Her death was a tremendous loss to the world of comedy, but her spirit lives on. As one of the few black female comedians to break through during television's golden age, Shirley Hemphill paved the way for future generations of performers, proving that humor, courage, and authenticity can leave a legacy that never fades. The legacy of What's Happening continues to live on, not just through reruns or nostalgia, but through the remarkable stories of the cast who made it unforgettable. From the laughter they brought on screen to the struggles and triumphs they faced behind the scenes, their journey reminds us that the brightest smiles often hide the deepest battles. But what about you? Which cast member's story surprised you the most, or changed the way you see the show today? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more untold stories from What's Happening and other classic TV legends.